Hi guys, Annabelle here from Horizon Cosplay, and today, I've got to be honest, I wasn't feeling very well, so I thought we'd do a more casual video in my bedroom. So a few weeks ago, I was very lucky to have a friend lend me 3 magazines from the 1950s. So we've made a cup of tea, which I'm going to pour now, and let's snuggle up and have a read to see what they say. I haven't actually glanced at any of these except to look at the front covers, and I am very excited to see what they're like. 2 of the magazines are women magazines, and the last one is Woman's Own. So the first magazine we're going to be reading is this one. This is the world's greatest weekly for women, the Women's Magazine, for February 6th, 1954. The headline articles are 16-page spring knitting detachable booklet, handy Amish dress pattern, ooh, and some romantic stories. Okay, that's quite funny. So on the first page it says, "Sore throat, for goodness sake, not for me," says Diane Deckler. She's attractive, she's vicious, she's the star of stage and television, and her voice is vital to her. She just can't afford sore throats or coughs, so she takes MAC throat sweets. I think I need to take MAC throat sweets because my voice is certainly going today. Oh, but we do have a daily good deed. Waiting at the stop where 1 million workers change buses every morning, I was surprised when a girl jumped off a bus she had apparently only just caught. She dashed through the crowds to hand a glove to a man who only at that moment realised he had lost it. Then she joined a queue behind me, 1 bus late, and perhaps seriously behind time for work. But she said to me with a smile when she noticed me watching, "I've probably saved one poor man from a wifely nagging, so it's worth it." I wondered which would have weighed most with me in that split second between spotting the glove and the bus gathering speed, my desire to do a good deed or my awareness of the pile of work waiting for me at the office. But it is just the need to make these little decisions at some time every day that makes life so interesting. So I used to read the Metro every day when I was going to college, and I used to love the good deed feed, and that is just very, what's it called? Not reminiscent, can't remember. The point is, it reminds me of nice things that happened in the past. Also, this is good. So this section is called Women to Women, and it basically is where people have written into the magazine, and there's a ginger shortbread recipe here which sounds absolutely divine. So try my ginger shortbread recipe for a quick, easy tea time favourite. Rub in 1/2 pound of lard or margarine into 1 pound of flour until the mixture is like fine breadcrumbs. Stir in 1/2 pound of sugar, 1 teaspoon bicarbonate of soda, 1 teaspoon cream of tartar, and teaspoons powdered ginger. When the mixture is thoroughly well blended, press it into a shallow tin, no liquid is needed, spreading it evenly and keeping it flat. Bake in a moderate oven for 30 minutes. Well, that's gonna have to go on my to-make list. Okay, this one is highly entertaining. It is called Welcome Dreams. My Christmas cake was very rich, very heavy, and very indigestible. Every afternoon I ate a large slice with my tea, and as a result had indigestion all evening. Every night I had the most vivid and fantastic dreams, but the dreams were so interesting that I grew to look forward to them and was heartbroken when the cake was eaten, the indigestion over, and the lovely dreams came no more. And the reply from the magazine is, you could always make another rich, heavy, and indigestible cake, of course, if the dreams really were as wonderful as all that. I mean, personally, I'm not sure constantly having indigestion is worth good dreams, but you know, personal choice. Now we have directions to do an exercise, which we can do sitting down, so let's give it a go. So, closed-fisted stuff. With shoulders back and tummy in, tuck your closed fists firmly under your armpits. Now make 10 circles, one after another with the air with the elbows. Forward, up, back, and down. Can you feel the exercise working? You should. Let's try this. So forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. I mean, my shoulders are crunching, but I also feel like a weird turkey. Or maybe a bird gracefully flying through the air. Okay, you know, I don't say it's not going to totally work, but it's definitely an interesting one. And I say that I can feel my shoulders crunching. Directly underneath that it says, open secret, there's always a crispy, crunchy Rivita, which I read as there's always a crispy crunch, because you're crunching your shoulder. Don't worry, it's fine. If you have bad bones, you get it. So, who is the cover girl on the magazine? It's a lady called Elizabeth Warlock, who is apparently a magician. She was the first woman and the youngest competitor to win the British Ring Shield of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. That's a big honour in magic circles. I mean, to be fair, to be the first woman, it's a big honour anyway. The hell was that? Is my roof leaking? Oh my god, it is! Oh, that is disgusting. disgusting. Oh, and that's right above my bed as well. That's really gross. Well, I know what I'm texting my landlord about today. How is it that we've been in this house like 6 months now and this is the first time I've noticed that? But it's fine, magazine's not damaged, a tiny mark, but nothing terrible. So this is talking about things that people have sent into the magazine, and in the section called Puzzle Corner, it says odd-shaped packages often arrive in the woman's post bag. They may contain anything from insect specimens, sometimes alive, for identification, to cakes which have gone wrong in cooking. We well remember the dead goldfish which arrived with a request from its owner to conduct a post-mortem and find the cause of death. Luckily, we were able to rush the corpse to a tropical fish expert. His diagnosis was just in time to save the unlucky goldfish's companions. I kind of want the full story there. That sounds like quite the fishy drama. Oh gosh, so there is a romantic story in here which I've got to be honest, I don't think I'm going to read because I'm not much one for romantic stories, and the catchline, shall we say, doesn't exactly appeal to me. It is that this was a desperate battle between father and son. Only the girl knew how much depended on the victory, and it's just kind of like, are you really going to battle your son to, like, marry a woman? Though this lady's blouse on the picture is absolutely gorgeous, I will say that. Here we go. Hardy Amiss designs your most versatile dress. Oh, that looks like a really nice dress, actually. That might have to go on the to make pile, I'm not going to lie. I'm a big fan of 1950s fashion, and that one has many triangles on it, which I don't think I often see. Now, let's have a little read about the dress. New beginnings are always exciting. I feel that every time I sketch the first dress of a new collection or see the final stitches put into a new and different designs. And I have a very special feeling, I hope you have it too, about the first new dress you'll make for yourself in spring of 54. In a sense, it's the key to the wardrobe you'll build up gradually during the year. A tryout for new trends, and you'll surely enjoy following as they develop during the summer and autumn. That's why I decided that your first dress of the year should be a real key dress, the sort of dress around which a whole clothespin really can be built. I did a good deal of sketching and planning before I was really satisfied, but on one thing I decided without any hesitation: your dress should be a lightweight woolen one with an airy, graceful line, one you could wear at any time of day under a coat or without one, to work or to party. I mean, I would definitely wear that to a party. I feel like I could make it out of some really nice floral fabric as well, just to make it a bit more, you know, stand out-ish. Why did I choose wool? Partly because it's one of my favourite materials. It's an honest fabric with no pretensions, but a great many genuine claims to the top of the list position. It's easy to handle, it makes up beautifully, wears well, and doesn't crush easily. It can be had in some lovely colours too. And most important point of all, it's the perfect all year round fabric. I mean, do you really want to be wearing a woolen dress in summer? I'm just curious here. I don't think that would work out particularly well for me, but there we go. Let's not have illusions about the climate in which we live, work, and go out to tea. We do have heat waves for as long as a fortnight. Okay, fine, it is England. He has a point, I will concede. But 2 weeks out of 52 isn't a very staggering slice, and when I look back over the outdoor summer functions, formal and informal, that I've attended during the last 2 or 3 years, I remember women who wear lightweight wool dresses with pretty hats and light-coloured gloves. Yes, the very same dresses that might have emerged prettily from under a coat in February appeared at April parties with matching stoles and would doubtless look equally attractive at very informal dances in October. It's important though that the line of such a dress should be really versatile, not too tailored, not too soft or indefinite, and that it should be truly figure flattering, because it's no use having a dress that you could wear almost every day if you don't want to wear it almost every day. Surprising how often this simple fact fails to occur to most sensible shoppers. To me, figure flattering means a line that minimizes the waist, gives a pretty line to the bust, and makes hips, if they're large, look a little smaller than they really are. We're lucky this year. 2 years ago, the design that I've finally chosen for your dress would have been specifically afternoon. It would have seemed too feminine, too flowing in line, and too little low in the neckline, and to be quite suitable for wearing in the morning with a neat little hat. Today, fashion demands softer, more flowing lines, and it thoroughly approves of a dress that sketches the outline of a very pretty figure. So I've planned a dress that's real waist whittler. I really want to whittle a woman's waist, but okay. The yoke on which the flared skirt is set at the front sees to that. I've given it to the low neckline, which is very flattering both to a bust that's smaller than its owner would like and to one that's larger. The skirt flares at the back in an unbroken line from waist hem. That way we eat our cake and have it, so to speak, by giving the prettiest line possible to the waist in the front by means of the yoke and to the hips at the back. Those pocket flaps which echo the turned over tabs at the neckline are a very new idea of mine. They're cut in one with the skirt panels, so they're not fiddly to make. Oh, good idea. They do give the dress an I know where I'm going air. Yeah, okay. It definitely looks like the lady in the picture knows where she's going, I'm not gonna lie. You won't find this dress difficult to make. My fitter helped me to reduce the number of pieces to a minimum. The sleeves, for instance, featuring the fashionable sloping lines, are particularly easy to handle. I chose a worsted wool crepe for your dress, soft and springy yet firmly woven. I'm very pleased with my choice, but you could, if you like, choose a harder wool fabric or a wool and rayon mixture for yourself. Make it in one of spring's prettiest colours, a soft blue, a bright clear green, or a really blonde toned coffee beige. You'll wear it happily right through 54 and well into 55. Here's a close-up of your dress and the back view. See how prettily it molds your waist? Wait, do we not actually have a dress pattern? No! I want to make this! Not fair. Turn to page 47. Oh, do we have to order it? I don't think it's going to be orderable anymore. Yep, you have to order the pattern. Well, there goes my excitement. I actually quite wanted to make that. But let's take a picture of it anyway and we'll see if we can figure it out. Oh, we're carrying on with the story. I don't really want to read. Oh wait, there's a TV thing. TV and films. Anything good? Clementina just came out apparently. There's the hopes of making a new fortnightly Friends and Neighbours into a TV equivalent of Mrs. Dale. All Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is coming to screen. Oh, Women's Holiday Mystery Tours. Ooh, looks like they're taking a bunch of ladies horse riding. Very good. I do approve of a good horse ride. They've got a friendship quilt. So as it happens, I actually came across friendship quilts on Google like a week ago and decided that they were a really awesome thing. So this is like the perfect article for me. So this section is called Homemade and Handsome, and it's about a friendship quilt today, and it says Edith Blair visits Stope Farm in Lancashire to see the fascinating bedspread Joan Townsend has made for her 4-poster bed. Soon after Joan Townsend and her architect husband Douglas moved into Stope's Farm, a rambling old house they converted from ruin in 1949, they came into possession of a 4-poster bed. Joan has always longed for a 4-poster, but they had never had enough room for one. Now this lovely home on the fringe of the big industry, yet surrounded by green fields and views, was the perfect background. As soon as Joan got her bed, she tried out 1 or 2 bedspreads, but none of them looked just right on the mellow old mahogany bed. The bed seemed to ask for a patchwork quilt. I mean, to be fair, I feel most beds could do with a patchwork quilt. Patchwork quilts are like my ideal thing I say when I don't have any of my patchwork quilts on the bed today, but there you go. Sometimes you have to adapt. A real old-fashioned patchwork would have taken Joan too much time to make. Instead, she brought some cotton fabric with a medallion design on it to give her a ready-made background. Then she circulated all her friends asking for a piece of material from their rag bag for her patchwork, enclosing a paper pattern of the size she wanted and asking each one to sign her name on the material in stitching. Her friends were intrigued and responded at once. All kinds of exciting patches came back to Stoke Farm, some plain and some patterned. There was a piece from her mother-in-law's favourite blouse, a friend's dress is represented, one that was a special success, a piece from the dress a concert pianist, oh my gosh, words! One that was a special success, a piece from the dress a concert pianist friend wore at a memorable concert. The most intriguing patches were the ones from an old print mill that used to stand on the moors not far from Joan's home. Joan used herringbone stitching to sew each patch to the quilt with stranded cotton in contrast to the patch. It took her about half an hour to tack each patch on first, then stitch. There are 100 patches on this 3-yard square quilt, and the border is made up of patches too. Glowing with colour, the quilt is a link with relations and friends. That is actually so sweet. Oh wow, now that is the kind of picture you would normally see on the cover of a very romantic, very erotic novel. Now again, I'm really not one for really romantic stories, and as this looks to be another one, we probably are gonna skip this, though apparently this one is part of a series, so that's always fun. Aw, make your own rainbow. Never mind the weather, never mind the rain. With Veronica Scott's protective fashion finds the outlook visibly getting brighter. Even the dog has a jacket. Oh look, it's an advert for my favourite hot chocolate brand. It's Cadbury's drinking chocolate, which I still drink today, and I'm actually going to have some tonight because Ben makes it in a very perfectionist way, which is very, very nice. Now, as this page is like split in half, I'm guessing this is the knitting pull-out in the centre, which we're obviously not going to pull out because this isn't my magazine. The spring knitting booklet. Oh look, so you literally are supposed to pull it out and then fold it to literally make a book. That's actually a really good idea. I mean, unfortunately, I'm just not much of a knitter, but I believe my friend is, so maybe she'll try and actually, you know, make one of these. Damn cool. Oh, now this is like, I definitely will be reading. It is a comic called The Ungrateful Daughter. And don't forget to fry that loaf, will you, Elsie? Fuss, fuss, fuss. Can't you stop it, mother? It's not natural for Elsie to be like that. Always biting our heads off over the smallest things lately. Dunno what comes over her. The next day, and I did forget the loaf, Jill. I'm so touchy with the poor darlings. Somehow I felt so tired lately. Yes, you haven't been looking yourself, but I even wake up tired, Doctor, and I sleep all night. That's nothing unusual. Probably means you've been unrelaxed while you sleep. You see, your brain and personality as well as your body need rest by night. There's nothing organically wrong with you, so try a cup of Horlicks every night. Is this an advert? So Horlicks every night and a new feeling of restfulness. Sometime later, do you think Elsie's forgotten it's our anniversary? And she's been so thoughtful to us lately. Why, Elsie, it must have taken days to organise. Thanks. No tiredness now, thanks to Horlicks. God's sake, it's an advert. I actually thought it was going to be quite a funny comment, but there, it's just an advert. And with that, this magazine has come to an end, so let's have a look at the next one. The next magazine we're looking at is from March of 1955, so pretty much just over a year after that one was published. The headlines on the cover are "This smart candy stripe blouse cut out in choice of 4 colours." Hopefully this one will actually contain a dress pattern. I'm still a bit bitter that the other one didn't. And "New Beginnings in Beauty, Fascinating Real Life Series" by Helen Temple. So let's have a look. I don't know if you can hear it, but someone is clearly using power tools just outside my house, which I'm not particularly pleased about, but there we go. Oh, there's quite a good bra advert on the first page for Royal Worcester, which is quite funny because I'm pretty sure in the UK we have a thing called Royal Worcester sauce, which is, I actually have no idea what it is. I don't think I've ever tried it, but I just find it funny that there was apparently a bra. It says the figure you want at the price you like. You know what? I do like cheap bras because they're horribly expensive. A message from the editor. No room for fear. My friend Penny lives by the river, and when I visited her, I was particularly fascinated by the swans who are almost on her doorstep. One in particular is so tame that he looks indignant if bread is just thrown for him. He likes to waddle to the edge and take it from Penny's hand. The funny thing is, she said as we waited for the swans to come in answer to her whistle, I was terrified of them till we came here. I was surprised, for she loves animals. Why? I asked. I can't imagine, she confessed. Of course they can be fierce if molested, but it wasn't that. I mean, I don't think you really want to molest any bird, but particularly swans can be very aggressive. I think it was the unfamiliarity. They're different from the animals and domestic birds I'm used to, so I was afraid. And knowledge, I thought, watching her pop the last piece of stale cake into an enormous beak, has driven out fear. It nearly always does. And some very wise words from 1955. Battle at breakfast. I wonder if our menfolk will ever realise that a wife's day can be made or marred by the spirit in which they leave for work. Great emphasis is always laid by experts on the importance of mother being bright, brisk, cheerful and efficient in the morning. But if she has to fight every inch of the way and takes the blame for any hold-ups, by the time the man of the house has slammed the front door behind him, she's just about as limp as one of her own dishcloth. And the magazine has replied, we think it is better, really, for the mother not to fight. After all, it may partly be her briskness. I'm sorry, what? It may partly be her briskness and efficiency, which is irritating her liverish husband and family. So essentially, because she's irritating them because she's doing her job well. Like, what the hell? We think she should be as efficient as possible without fussing too much. Remember that the early morning grumpiness is rarely intended to be offensive. If there is no conversation and no joviality, well, does it matter? At least there has also been no battle, and the housewife can face the day like a reed which has bowed before the storm but remains quite unharmed by it. I mean, the feminists would throw a hissy fit if they read that. Oh god. So this looks like it might be a bit of a funny story. It's called the Shaggy Marrow Story. My mother, returning from the shops one morning, saw our regular greengrocer's van outside of our gate. She did not wish the large marrow she had brought to be seen, so she hastily pushed it into our hedge, meaning to collect it when the greengrocer had gone. She forgot all about it and was amazed when the odd jobs man, who had come to mend the gate, knocked at the door and asked if we were aware of the presence of a marrow in our hedge. He looked more than a little surprised when my mother assured him it did belong to us, and she was busy at the time. She put it in a deep waste paper basket in the hall. This basket is put out on the doorstep each morning for the paper boy to leave the bundle of papers in, so once again there was a tap on the door, and once again our marrow was claimed, this time from an astonished looking paper boy. My father took it in and for no reason at all placed it on top of the cupboard in the hall. When lunch was being prepared, we remembered the marrow and the hunt started. Father had gone to church by then and had not mentioned the last incident in the marrow's life. We turned the house upside down, but in vain, until my sister, coming downstairs, noticed it on the top of the cupboard. Just in time. We had the marrow for lunch after all, for God's sake. I mean, look, things happen. That's quite good though, and well done for thinking to stuff it in a hedge. I once stuffed my bike in a hedge because I had nowhere else to put it, and it had a flat tyre and I didn't want to carry it all the way home, and I picked it up 3 days later and it was still there. And yes, I'm quite surprised about that too. Top of the family. In our family, we like to play quiz games. Recently, my young daughter was asked what is meant by laughing stock, and quick as a flash came the reply, soup made from the funny bone. And you know what? She ain't wrong. Oh, and we have another recipe here. It is called a tea potluck. Have you ever tried tea wine? It is nice for both children and grown-ups and can be used in a month. Pour into a bowl 8 pints of cold milkless tea. Add to this 4 pounds of sugar, 1 pound of large raisins cut small, and 4 sliced lemons. Stir well and leave for a month, then remove any scum, strain and bottle. The wine is then ready to use but improves immensely with keeping. And the magazine has replied, here's another tea hint. When mixing a cake, use leftover tea as liquid instead of milk, and when making chocolate icing or filling, mix it with coffee for extra lusciousness. I'm not a fan of coffee, so I'm not sure about the last one, but I'm definitely going to be trying the tea one instead. So there's this funny little comic at the bottom of this page, which is called Life and Sally, and it has quite the adorable poem, which I have mixed feelings on. It's a good poem, but it does seem to be a bit interesting. Sally's on a diet, not a single sweet. She's vowed that she allow herself not even as a treat. But Sally's also human, thinks just one won't matter. How could a single chocolate make me any fatter? Sally's mother, wiser, knows the only way to hold to good intentions is to keep them every day. One sweet may not matter from the slimming point of view, but eat it and tomorrow you'll be longing to eat too. And again, we are at the candy striped blouse, and it looks like we have to order it. Like, for God's sake, magazines, if you're gonna say you're coming with something, like, actually come with the thing, so that years later, like now, we don't have to go without. There's another romance story here, and it's called The Naughty Weekend. Oh gosh. Of course, this was an impossible thing to do, but she was utterly unable to resist. Darling, he said, what we needed was just this. Then they both burst out laughing. I mean, if you find it funny. So now we have a lovely little article called Cottons Go A-Dancing. Veronica Scott finds a springtime job on the dance floor for next summer's prettiest dress. Never mind the temperature, this is the time to buy your summer cottons. Don't listen to those girls who don't have real cotton dress weather for the next summer shopping. It's not fleecy clouds and sunshine. You're not buying the dresses and picking off a crop in the shops now. Of course, you don't fancy the idea of buying a pretty dress and then putting it into cold storage for a month or two, or remembering last summer for even longer. But there's no need for that. If you buy wisely, the dress or separates that'll be mainstay of your summer wardrobe can start life right away on the dance floor. So go out and buy the prettiest summer dress you can find and wear it for dancing and parties now and right through the summer. Regard it as mainly as a party frock and also as a best dress for the hot weather wear. Look at the happy party scene we photographed for you. All three girls are having great fun in their brand new cottons, pretty examples of the latest styles. Each outfit is young, feminine and colourful and has special fashion points that make it right for its double life. Yes, there are a few points to remember before setting out on a shopping spree. A full skirt to give you a romantic air is a must. It will billow out beautifully as you swirl around, whether the skirt's circular, gathered pleats or tiered. But do pay it the compliment of a stiff petticoat to hold out that full skirt. Lightweight fabrics need the support of a firm underskirt. Now for the top, you have the choice of a high, demurely coloured styles or low cut neckline, wide V shapes or square cuts. But don't go for anything completely strapless or very bare unless the dress has a matching bolero or jacket. Remember, you're going to wear it later out of doors. It's smart to be sleeveless this summer, but look for built-up necklines, broad shoulder straps, with or without bows, or an enormous collar to take away the bare look. By the way, separates are more versatile than ever. Our pretty party guest in yellow is wearing a very full poplin skirt. In the summer, she'll team it with cotton jumpers and sun top, and a striped shirt, future mate of jeans and shorts. Just now, united by an eye-catching white belt, they make a gay outfit for dancing and party going. The colours glow. Colours everything under the sun to choose from, and how nice the latest shades look in soft lamplight. If you like plain fabrics, there are lovely dual-coloured poplins to set you aglow. Rich greens, vibrant reds and romantic blues. If you prefer patterns, you'll find charming floral designs, mostly roses blossoming against a contrasting background or in Victorian wallpaper design. Choose your accessories with care. Gilt, bronze or silver costume jewellery look lovely with a plain cotton, but avoid anything heavy or wintry looking. White beads and earrings are safe with either plain or printed fabric, and so are coloured glass accessories that pick out the dress's basic shade. Conga time is cotton time. The girl on the right wears a pink and white print with pretty roses dotting the stripes. Hip size 36 to 42, also in lemon, blue and red. Price is £3.19 shillings. In the middle, gleaming emerald poplin cuts, dashed with wide deep v-necks and a tiered skirt. Hip size 36 to 42. Other colours red, tan, blue. Price is £3.19 shillings. On the left is separates, a white and yellow striped shirt, bust size 34 to 38. Price £1.12 shillings, and a full skirt in yellow poplin, waist size 24 to 28. Price £1.15 shillings. Both come in many other delightful colours as well. So this is an extract from a book that came out in 1955 called Sarah Dane by Catherine Gatskin, I think. And there is this beautiful illustration here. It looks like a historical romance, and it's such a good cross of like the 1950s does. I don't really know what era that is, but it's the 1950s does some form of history. Sarah held herself erect, outwardly calm, yet in her heart she knew this was no ordinary wedding. I have to admit, with all the pages of adverts, one thing that I'm a little bit disappointed about is that there's no phone numbers, but I suppose phone numbers weren't a massive thing in the 1950s, but I would have liked to have tried calling some of them just to see who picks up. But it's surprising how much this magazine is just adverts. It's pretty much like two main stories, adverts, and then a few smaller articles in between. So we're still here going on with Sarah Dane. It's just that 3/4 of the page is adverts for various things. So here's an interesting little section. It's called The Honest Wife. A wife's delight in married love should not be allowed to cloud her understanding. Too many young wives, the first 2 or 3 years of marriage, form a period during which much self-adjustment has to take place. Not the least of it entails a close relationship with a man who has been chosen as a life partner. Now, my understanding is that dating back then was very, very different to how we date today, and they would date for a shorter amount of time, get married quicker, get married younger, and also, you know, there would not be as much before marriage, like, didn't really live with someone you weren't married with, so having to adjust to that would probably be quite a large thing. So I can see why it would take a lot of young women time to get around that issue. That's fair. Sometimes, however, a girl discovers the joy and fulfillment of married love almost immediately. It is a rare gift, and the wise young husband never dares expect it. One suspicious young husband has, in fact, been made very unhappy by it. Oh my gosh, men! Just accept that your wife is happy, for God's sake. My husband has almost accused me of having an affair before I met him, wrote Betty, but after the circumstances of our honeymoon proved without any doubt that I was entirely innocent before I became his wife. Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. What seems to worry him so much is that I can find as intense a pleasure in union as he can, and that I feel no shame or reluctance in yielding to his affections. Essentially, the guy's complaining that she's enjoying sex, is what it sounds like. He seems to have been taught that a nice girl always finds this side of her marriage vaguely unwelcome, and the fact that I am very loving partner upsets all his ideas. Oh my gosh. Even in medieval times, there was evidence, or people told people, that a woman orgasming made her more likely to get pregnant. So, if anything, if you want kids, she should be enjoying it too. Just saying. And if we could understand that in medieval times, how people managed to backtrack up to the 1950s is just, ugh. Should she hide her pleasure in married love, Betty wonders, and allow her husband's half-guilty attitude of mind to dominate the relationship instead? No, do not. Like, most women have to pretend to orgasm these days, and she's trying to pretend not to. I feel this would be a mistake, because Edward would at once recognise that Betty's response to his affection was not genuine. He might think that she was deceiving him in some way, and be made intensely unhappy by such suspicions. But although I would not advise Betty to pretend to any unreal feelings, I would assure her that it is possible to learn manners in love as in any other human activity. Edward admires modesty, gentleness, and decorum. These are qualities which Betty may easily practice without losing any of her love for her husband. No. Why? Why are you telling her to be something that she's not? I would genuinely pay good money to know if this lady got a divorce. In all probability, what has shocked Edward so profoundly is the difference between the quietness of Betty's behaviour in general and the eagerness of her response to lovemaking. If Betty will pay great attention to her husband and learn how her affections most pleases him, she will automatically react more delicately to his feelings because she will be thinking about his feelings and not her own. So essentially, let's ignore your own pleasure to give your husband what he wants. That's so unfair. I'm taking issues with this. So far I've been enjoying reading these magazines, but there's nothing been particularly controversial that I was taking issues with, but this I have an issue with. I am sure that in quite a short time Edward will be grateful for a wife who has the ability to respond so swiftly to passion. We bloody well better be. Betty's honesty of feeling will release much of his shyness and give him more pleasure in matrimony than he might have dreamed was possible. Yes, I hope it does. Now, we have a section here where people write in to ask advice, and this one has caught my attention. It is called Family Jealousy. I am 22 and very happily married to a man 6 years my senior. We have 2 children. My mother has always had a very strong affection for my husband, and I believe that she is rather resentful of my position as his wife. Was it just like fashionable back then to fall in love with your kids' partners? Like in the last magazine there was a whole bloody story about it. She tried to make trouble between us once, but we were able to prove that her assertions were untrue. She often stays with us as she is unhappy with my father. Her presence makes me feel strained as she is constantly praising my husband and making a fuss of him. He regards this as a joke and tells me that I take it all too seriously, but I feel the position is dangerous. The woman replying, whose name I cannot find, but she replies anyway, says, "The position is dangerous because your love for your husband has faltered over this matter. Common sense will tell you that a middle-aged woman is most unlikely to make any impression on a man young enough to be her son, however flattering she may be to him. Common sense could also tell you that because your mother is unhappy at home, she is longing to find an outlet for her own affectionate feelings, and your husband enjoys being mothered. Try to tell your mother as kindly as you can that her own husband might benefit from some of the tenderness which only makes your husband laugh, and your love for your husband should be strong enough to swallow this unnecessary jealousy towards your mother." I mean, look, if your mum is being that fussy over your partner, there might be a small issue. I'm just saying. Not always. Maybe it is a misunderstanding, but modern day world, I wouldn't rule it out. Okay, this article is pretty cool. It's called The Girl Who Makes Things Happen. On the ground, underwater, in the air, Sylvia finds adventure everywhere. They liked to rhyme in the 1950s, didn't they? And I'm really not complaining about that. The day Sylvia Gregg landed in England, she had her suitcase in one hand, her typewriter in the other, and 10 £1 notes in her handbag. She came from South Africa with 2 ambitions: to find adventure and to work on a British national newspaper. Now, 4 years later, she is the only girl on the Daily Herald adventure staff. A small, composed girl with shaggy dark hair, Sylvia left home at a fortnight's notice. That rush from the sun and sea of Cape Town, where she worked, to the dust and anxiety of London with only £10 and no job, was typical of the 23-year-old Sylvia. Wanted to travel. "You have to make things happen," she said, as we sat in a coffee house not far from the Daily Herald's great pillared offices. "I wanted to travel, and England was the first place I wanted to see. I meant to arrive in proper style, but the way I came was more fun. The first few months in London were not fun for Sylvia, however. Then she began to make friends. Magazines brought the stories she wrote, and at last her favourite sport, underwater swimming, led her to her job as an adventure girl. The idea is to interest young people who want to do something with their leisure time, she explained. There are so many sports and pastimes that people might try if they knew where to begin, how much it costs, and something of what it's like. I try everything and then tell them. So Sylvia has tried her luck in skating, gliding, judo, swimming, with an aqua lung, rifle shooting, and canoeing on the Thames, where the tide runs fast and the autumn winds, she said, were rather sneaky. I never know what to expect from each day, she said with a laugh. After the judo episode, I feel I could do anything. I was the only beginner at the school. The other had 2 months learning how to break a fall. I piled right in and fell anyhow. An outdoor girl. With her cheer, rosy skin and great hazel eyes, Sylvia looks like everybody's idea of an outdoor girl. But her hands are her despair. Just look at them, she said. In my adventures, I can never keep them warm or dry, and they're ruined. Sylvia looked out the coffee house window at the Londoners hurrying along the wide street outside and went on, living here in London is one of the best things about being an adventure girl. Sometimes I look round and think I'm really in London, and it's wonderful. Now, I love this article because it's clearly praising a woman for doing a lot of very good things. I dislike this article because they can't stop talking about how she looks. I don't care how she looks. If she wants to go kick ass at some judo class, go for it. And with that, that is one more magazine done, so time for the third and final one. Now, this magazine is a woman's own. It's from March of 1951, and it does look to be in relatively poor condition, so I'm going to try and be extra gentle with it. On the front cover, the headlines are your first dress for summer and cut out and ready to sew 27/6 dress. If this one doesn't have a sewing pattern in, I'm going to be very angry. And let's begin. Well, the first few pages literally just seem to be adverts, which is a bit disappointing. We have another advert here for knitting wool, and this looks like a write-in section where people have written in to the magazine. So let's have a look through and see if there's anything interesting. So for us sewing people, here is a hint to remember. At the convent which I attended, I was struck by the way the nuns kept their black gowns so clean and smart. I discovered that instead of just brushing them, they dipped the brush in a weak solution of coffee. It works wonders for any black garment. I think I might have to try that. I've got to be honest, I'm not actually finding that much interesting in this magazine so far. The letters were good, but the actual articles themselves seem a bit, almost too newsy, I suppose. Oh, here we go, we have some cake recipe. Now, I'm not going to worry about reading them out, but I am going to save these because we are working on some cookbooky things later, and this, I think, would be a very good thing to include. And we've gotten to the page where we have the dress pattern in the instructions, and guess what? You have to order the dress pattern, for God's sake, guys. I mean, to be fair, the other dress pattern was definitely nicer, but this one's just a bit disappointing. I quite liked the idea of it, but apparently 'tis not to be. And now we have a problem-solving page. I always quite like the problem-solving pages. I remember really well when I watched the movie The Help, which I also think is based in the 1950s, so America, not the UK. Skeeter, one of the main girls, ends up being a help writer, and I just thought that sounded like fun, especially because she actually couldn't help anyone. She just had to get the answers from everyone else. So this bit says, should we go? I've been married for 12 years and have 2 children. We are a very happy family, but my husband and I worry because we can't give the children the sort of life we would like them to have. Now, my husband would like us to emigrate, but I would hate to leave my mother and father, who are getting on in years, and would miss us dreadfully. My husband says I should think of my children first, but I think in this case I must consider my parents too. We have discussed the problem so much I can't even think objectively anymore. And the advice they were given was, my own feeling is that if you have quite made up your mind that by emigrating you can give your children a better chance in life, then you should go ahead with your plans. Naturally, your parents will miss you, but I feel sure that their first wish would be that your children shall make a success of their lives. I think beneath your conscious worry about your parents is probably the subconscious fear of uprooting yourself and your family and going off into the unknown, which is why I suggest that you should look at your problem rather more in regard to your own reactions to the upheaval of the move than to that of your parents. That's actually pretty solid advice, even for today's standards. Oh gosh, now this is a question. I have been married for 18 months and my dearest wish now is to have a baby. One of my friends says it is wicked to bring a child into the world in its present unsettled state. What do you think? Jeez Louise. I mean, maybe not advisable is okay, but wicked? Maybe not that harsh. What your friend is suggesting is that life at the present times is not worth living. Few people would agree with her. Life is difficult, anxious, dangerous, but so it has always been. When our ancestors were not worrying about Attila or the civil wars or Napoleon, it was the Black Death or food, fire and famine. Life is a risky business at the best of times, but there is still a lot of fun in it. And oh gosh, more baby advice. This one is quite scandalous. 18 months ago, I had an unfortunate love affair and discovered that I was going to have a baby. I left home and told my parents I had taken a job. It is a struggle to keep myself and my baby, but I cannot bear the thought of having him adopted. There is a man in the building where I work whom I have known for some time, and he believes that I am a widow. Now he says that he wants to marry me. Need he find out that I have been deceiving him? Before I even read the answer, my dear, I'm going to say yes. Lying to your husband is never a good idea. They advise, I strongly advise you to tell him the truth. Good advice. If you marry and lie about your status, you may get into serious trouble, for it is a punishable offence to give incorrect information when applying for a license to marry. I feel that if he loves you, he will not let your revelation affect his feelings. I agree. And if he doesn't want to marry you because you had sex with some guy before marriage, even in the 50s, he already knew you had a kid. He knows that you're not a virgin. It can't be that big of a deal. I say this, it probably was back then, but you guys get the idea. And that is conclusion of magazine number 3. Well guys, I know that today's video wasn't as exciting as some of my other ones, but I'm really glad that you joined me for it, and thank you for coming along. If you do want to see more cosplay and sewing content, please do hit subscribe. I will be back next Wednesday with an actual craft project this time, which is very exciting. And otherwise, if you enjoyed this and the 50s magazines, please do hit that like button, and if any of the recipes or anything that we saw today is something that you would like me to try and make, please let me know what in the comments down below. Otherwise, we also have a lovely growing community on our Discord channel. The link is in the description. Please do come along and have a chat. I really enjoy speaking and getting to know you all. And otherwise, I will see you next Wednesday. Have a beautiful day, guys. Bye!